Hello, viewers of Wasteland TV. We are here with...
My name is Carl Gottlieb.
What did Carl Gottlieb do?
Carl Gottlieb wrote the screenplay for Jaws with Peter Benchley. He wrote the screenplay for The Jerk with Steve Martin. Wrote the screenplay for Which Way Is Up for Richard Pryor, and has been in the show business for 50 years.
And you're forgetting about one of my favorites, Caveman with
Ringo
Starr and Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid and the beautiful Barbara Bach and the very funny Shelley Long.
Yes.
In her first feature film debut.
I own that film.
You should.
So, what made you come up with Jaws exactly?
I didn't come up with it. Peter Benchley had an idea for a novel, which was very successful and was bought pre-publication by Zanuck and Brown, the producers, who felt that it would make a good movie. And as it turns out, after a couple, 3 or 4 drafts by different writers, Benchley did the first draft, Howard Sackler did the second, and then I had to rewrite the 2 of them, but I did it on location as we were filming the movie, which is the best way to rewrite a film because they can't change it when you're done because they've already shot it.
Yeah, and also too, at the same time, it's the final draft.
Yeah.
What about The Jerk?
That's a movie I wrote with Steve Martin. I had directed a short subject that was called The Absent-Minded Waiter, which is available on YouTube, that I directed. It was nominated for an Academy Award, starring Steve, and he was in development at Paramount Pictures, and we wrote a screenplay together for The Jerk, which was subsequently added to by another writer named Michael Elias. And the finished film has the credits, story by Carl Gottlieb and Steve Martin, screenplay by Steve Martin, Carl Gottlieb, and Michael Elias. So it just goes to show that sometimes collaboration works.
So, was it always called The Jerk, planned to be called The Jerk, or was it called something else and working?
You know, I don't know what other titles they came up with. All I know is that The Jerk worked, and that's what they went with.
And what about Caveman? What made you come up with that one?
Caveman was 2 producers, Larry Terman and David Foster, had pitched a project without a writer, I think to Warner Brothers. Anyway, they had pitched a project, and they basically said, do you remember 1 Million BC, which was the Raquel Welch movie, and then before that it was a black and white film back in the 30s. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we want to do the same thing, only funny. So I wrote a few drafts of a funny 1 Million BC, and then they decided they wanted to make it a little more slapsticky, so they got a writer who was an associate of Mel Brooks, who had worked on Mel Brooks's movies, a guy named Rudy DeLuca. So Rudy and I co-wrote the screenplay for Caveman, and I got to direct it, and the result is the picture you saw. But it came about, it was a standard kind of a studio deal. Somebody had an idea, the studio bought it, they wrote a draft, they didn't like the draft, they rewrote it, they approved it, we shot it, we made it for a budget, for a price, shot it in Mexico, and it has fans to this day, including myself.
Were you surprised that it picked up a cult following as it got older?
I'm not surprised by anything in show business. Any business in which the Kardashians can enjoy success, as well as the shark, it just means we don't know what the hell people like.
So was Ringo Starr your original choice for the character?
Well, it was a difficult choice because the lead character in Caveman is kind of a nebbishy little, not an action hero. He's
him and his sidekick are kind of morons.
But at least Dennis is a guy, but the Ringo Atuk, the Ringo character, is a bit of a loser. So there's not a lot of actors who like to play that, but we had 2 in mind, Dudley Moore and Ringo, and Dudley passed for whatever reason, so we thought Ringo was appropriate, and it turned out to be he had great chemistry with Dennis and with Barbara. As a matter of fact, he married Barbara, so it all worked out.
Did you have Dennis Quaid cast for that role?
Well, we interviewed a lot of actors, and Dennis got the part.
So how many other actors interviewed for it?
You know what? It was 40 years ago. I have no idea.
Okay. It's always fun hearing some of the celebrity names that were Where I go, yeah, Ron Howard could have been Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
So, yeah, and then Edmund George Raft could have been Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca.
Yeah.
Go figure. You know?
Yeah, it's just amazing when you hear some of the names that went for, or Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones.
Would have done a great job.
So, out of all the films you wrote, which has been some of your favorites?
You know, it's like asking, it's like Sophie's Choice. It's like asking which of your children you like the best. You know, you don't.
Is it easier to ask which ones you dislike the best?
No, I don't dislike any film I worked on. I dislike some people I worked with, but I don't dislike the films. And, you know, when I work on a film, I try to do the best job I can and hope for the best. I've been lucky, and I've had some films that are huge successes. And I've had some films like Dr. Detroit with Dan Aykroyd, which, even though it matched Dan Aykroyd up with his present wife, Donna Dixon, it was not a big hit.
And it's still people still want to forget it.
Yeah. Well, you know, the title, Steve Martin and Martin Short are doing a two-man show all around the country. And the title is An Evening You'll Never Remember. An Evening You'll Never Remember.
So, let's add, like you brought up about Steve Martin. Which comedians have you wrote for, other than Steve Martin?
Name one. Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Lily Tomlin, Paul Provenza.
So hard is it to write for a comedian versus an actor?
Not hard to write for a comedian, because all comedians are natural actors. They may not be great actors, but any comedian who's an incredible stand-up who has an act, any stand-up comic, male or female, will give you a credible performance in a motion picture. And that goes, and when it works, like when Ed Wynn or Red Buttons or comics like that, Jackie Gleason, when they do serious films, they're very impressive. So, I love working with stand-ups because, if nothing else, they're smart. There are no stupid stand-ups.
That's interesting. Okay, we are back. We're talking about books that you wrote. The Jaws Log.
Best-selling book about the making of a movie ever in history, any movie ever. I also wrote 2 of David Crosby's autobiographies, which were Long Time Gone, in 1988, and Since Then in 2006. That's my literary oeuvre.
So, compared to literary, which would you like doing, scripts or books?
Scripts are easy. Books are hard. Books are, especially nonfiction, because you've got to be responsible to the truth. You've got to at least have some eye on reality when you're writing about reality. Now, I say that without ever having written fiction. I wrote fictional movies, but I've never written a novel, for example, or even a short story. So, from what I know, it's hard work.
So are you still writing scripts today?
Yeah. I've worked on a movie about a rock and roll band that went into the Army and played in Vietnam as a unit. They survived the war, came back, stayed together for the next 30 years.
Can you say what rock and roll band it's about?
It was a band, a regional band in Illinois called the Egyptian Combo. They charted a little bit in the 60s, and then they went to Vietnam. And they stayed at Southern Illinois band. They played, they recorded a little bit, and like I say, they played for 40 years together. And the memory of their Vietnam experience is called One Good Note. It's about their time together, playing rock and roll on the front lines. A 9-piece horn band and a helicopter with the equipment getting shot at.
But any last words you'd like to share with the audience about writing?
It's difficult, lonely work. You'll be unemployed most of your life, but it's very satisfying, as George Bernard Shaw once said. They said, "Do you like writing?" He said, "No, I like having written." The act of writing itself is lonely and painful and difficult, and nobody who writes likes to do it, except a few people like Stephen King who can't stop, can't help themselves. But most writers who are not habitual writers, people who don't wake up in the morning and start writing, they will tell you it's difficult. And I'm here to agree.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. If you're out there, are you still running?
Oh, yeah.
If you're out there and you want to be a writer, all I can tell you is write. There's no other way to do it.
Well, thank you. Now we're signing off.